Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and if you hear something that sounds like a hammer in the background, that's because people are doing some Windows. They're installing some Windows here today, and so if you hear something that sounds like a hammer, that's because there's a hammer being used in the background. And I'm pretty certain you're going to hear it. You might hear a drill or two as well. Okay. Ripple Swell is this week down in Miami. It's going to be the registration close. Let's see what the, let's see here. It's tomorrow is when it starts. So it starts tomorrow. It's got a huge lineup of people. I'm anticipating that they will take, if I'm betting, they're going to take real USD live during the Swell conference. Here it is, October 15th through 16th. Going to be interesting. At the same time, we're seeing reports that Ripple has launched a major ad campaign in London. This is in the London, I don't know what this is in. That's in London though, and this one also.
Bye-bye.
Check this out.
Got that new.
And their new message is leader in digital asset infrastructure. And then they're also in Brazil, right here. Modernize calm Ripple custody. So Ripple is everywhere. Now, since Swell is this week, this is one of the videos of Brad Garlinghouse at a previous Swell. Just thought I'd play this little clip.
Payment flow that might be going from dollar to Mexican peso, and you're holding a dollar, you're selling that dollar and buying XRP, you're moving that XRP across the XRP ledger to, let's say, Bitso, who's here in the audience today. You're selling the XRP and you're buying Mexican peso. By enabling that liquidity to move from dollar to peso in real time, you're changing how that oil is greasing the engine of correspondent banking. So for us, in a world of hype, in a world of experimentation, in a world where people talk about the opportunity and really the speculation of digital assets, we feel like XRP is the only digital asset really poised to solve a problem at scale, a global payments problem.
And if you haven't been noticing, Ripple is in the process of converting to a digital asset infrastructure company. In other words, Amazon, Brad Garlinghouse has said it before, Amazon started as books and now it's everything. And so I believe you're watching them activating all aspects of that now. I've told you, Ripple is no ordinary company and XRP is no ordinary digital asset. For that reason, I wanted to remind you, Link2, who is my sponsor, you can go to linqto.com. They do have, I checked this morning, they do have Ripple private equity on the platform. You can also download the Link2 app. And I am flipping a Zippo. This, by the way, Johnny from the UK gave me this Zippo at XRP Las Vegas. And Johnny, if you're listening, I just want to let you know, ever since then, not only has it been annoying my audience, it also has been annoying my wife when we're watching TV at night. When I flip this, it drives her crazy. And so I keep it on my desk to drive everyone crazy. You're the man, Johnny. I met Johnny and his wife, and they gave me this Zippo at XRP Las Vegas. They even had it inscribed. It was pretty cool. Very nice people. Check this out. So anyway, it's Johnny's fault. So we've got a Bitcoin that has crossed 65,000, and that's a good thing for all of us, folks, because you can feel the engines warming up on the whole crypto thing. Now, Jay Clayton, our old buddy, was on CNB. He was on Squawk Box, and that is because instead of holding Jay Clayton accountable for ETHgate and asking him any questions, CNBC, who is the propaganda media, Squawk Box, they decided it would be better to just hire him. instead of holding power accountable or anything like that. Instead, the propaganda media just hires him. So here he's weighing in on whether Google should be broken up, and he's saying some interesting things. He's saying that what's important is consumers, protecting what's better for consumers, and not for a particular competitor. So here's Jay Clayton, the same guy that dropped the Ripple lawsuit as he walked out the door and hurt all those consumers, even though he was warned. Grunfest, all these people warned him not to drop the lawsuit. It would hurt all these people unnecessarily, and he did it anyway. Same guy is now worried about consumers. Same guy who protected Ethereum and gave Ethereum a free pass while he went after their competitor Ripple. Same guy now says that it's not what's better for a particular competitor. So we've got a different Jay Clayton here. Let's listen to a little bit of his bull crap.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. The DOJ considering a potential breakup of Google. Join us right now to discuss this and so much more. Jay Clayton, former SEC chairman, non-executive chair of Apollo, American Express board member, and CNBC contributor. Jay, you like the idea of breaking up Google? Do you think there's a problem there? And is that the right remedy?
Andrew, it's so interesting that the DOJ filed their brief and said, look, everything is on the table, including a significant breakup of what we all know is a ubiquitous company. As I look at it right now, no, I'm not in favor of a structural remedy like that. I think the history of those types of remedies in this country, particularly for cutting-edge technology companies, is dubious. But what I will say is the brief from the Justice Department, which is pretty short, does recognize a new level of network effects across the global economy. What do they say are the problems with Google? They say they have revenue sharing with distribution globally. They say they can order search results and therefore elevate some companies over others. They say they have great power over advertising. And at the end of the day, they have a tremendous ability to gather data sets that set them apart from all their competitors. On the one hand, you can say,
okay, enough of Jay Clayton. I'll give you my thoughts on Google in DAIXRP.com. Not saying it out here. Now, this was an interesting video that was going around this morning. I want to show you this from Subjective Views.
And Yellen, they have both threatened to target Chinese banks as well. So you can see the big urgency Russia has to push for a new payment system. The details here are very important. It tells us what Putin is planning to do with this BRICS trading system. Firstly, this involves the Bank of Russia and the Russian Finance Ministry, and that means Elvira Nabiullina is involved. She is the head of Russia's central bank and a big reason why Moscow survived the sanctions. Why, despite fighting a war, Russia's economy has not overheated and collapsed. Her involvement is a big signal that Russia wants to get this system up and running as soon as possible. We could see a formal idea presented or discussions happening in Kazan very soon. The overarching plan is pretty simple. You develop a network of commercial banks that conduct transactions in local currencies. In other words, a multi-currency system. You also establish direct links between central banks. You need to do this to do currency swaps for trade. So if I have rupees and I need rubles, the central bank link takes care of that. In such a network, the only way possible for this to be feasible is to use the blockchain. What Russia wants is to create a big black box system, a gigantic box that ensures the G7 can't see all the transactions happening. After all, we all remember what Senator Marco Rubio said about dollars and sanctions.
Look, I think the bottom line is we're in a conflict. And I think we have to start talking about it that way. A lot of time, most of the people are up here now don't remember. I was very young, obviously, at the end of the Cold War, but it's been about 30 years since there was another superpower on the earth that was in conflict with the United States. And we are back in that place. And we need to stop pretending like that's not the case. Now, I hope it's never an armed conflict, but it's a conflict at every level you can imagine. Brazil, in our hemisphere, largest country in the Western Hemisphere south of us, cut a trade deal with China. They're going to, from now on, do trade in their own currencies, get right around the dollar. They're creating a secondary economy in the world, totally independent of the United States. We won't have to talk about sanctions in 5 years because there'll be so many countries transacting in currencies other than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them.
So to prevent this, the blockchain has to be used. Russia is also proposing to take it further, to create a system where there's total trust without the risk of any country defaulting. And to do this, Russia is proposing a distributed ledger technology, or DLT, and this will help eliminate credit risk. Everyone will be in the loop and transactions will be recorded on each participant's end. And here's what this means. If Russia sells oil to China in RMB, the information won't just be recorded by Beijing or Moscow. A distributed ledger allows the record to be spread across the participants. So records in India and the UAE can help to verify that the transaction is done. It's important because it helps to build trust in the system. Russia and China will have to honor the oil for RMB deal, and there's no need for any other third party to verify. And this really helps to build much needed trust.
Okay, so, and he's got some documentation down here. I don't know what this is from, but it says the first half of 2018, the Bank of Russia, this bank innovative laboratory conducted research on testing the possibility of cross-border payment settlements using the Ripple platform. We also have this, and I'm not saying that Russia's working with Ripple. I'm just saying I've always felt like what made sense was for there to be a plan that was coordinated between, because ultimately, whether you think Russia or China or whoever's the enemy, ultimately the money, it's in everybody's interest for the money to flow seamlessly around the world for all industries in all countries. So I've always thought it made sense for everybody to be collaborating, that maybe they had done that and it was just like kind of secretive stuff. There is evidence of that. Any of you that are OGs that were around, this was back in 2000, what was the date here? This was May 2019. That is the governor of Russia that guy just mentioned, and she's at the Swiss, the ninth high-level conference on the international monetary system in Switzerland.
Is 18
and for those that haven't been around, I'll show you who else was there.
and 6.5% of GDP respectively, while the
So there she is, and look over here, and the room's literally chock full of central bankers. And then you go over here on the other side, and who do we see? If I could get back. Oh, come on. Just want that one shot. There it is. There's Brad Garlinghouse, who was there to give a presentation. She was up front, and then she was sitting over here to the left side. Then you got the guy that runs the BIS. You had Christine Lagarde. You had a guy from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And here was Brad Garlinghouse when he was giving his presentation there.
Our view in the future is you don't have to have this pre-funding, and instead you can use a digital asset to have global liquidity on demand. Now, we build upon a tech stack, an open source technology called XRP. XRP originally was built by some engineers who had seen some of the flaws of Bitcoin and the challenges of scalability around Bitcoin, where Bitcoin today, per transaction basis, it's rather slow and rather expensive. XRP is very, very fast, about 1,000 times faster per transaction and 1,000 times cheaper per transaction. The other dynamic, of course, of correspondent banking is some of the more quote-unquote exotic currencies, exotic corridors have been left to kind of stand on their own. And the liquidity in digital assets could be applied to actually make that much more democratized and a level playing field. Ripple's vision from the beginning really has been to apply these technologies in the same way that TCP/IP and HTTP are the technologies underpinning the Internet of Information. These blockchain technologies will be the underpinnings of an Internet of Value, where we have connected devices, we have connected information that will allow payments to flow. And as Norman's describing, if you're a large corporation moving $100 million, that's one thing. If you're a freelancer working in the Philippines doing design work for a company in London and you want to get paid $30 or 30 pesos, Philippine pesos, that's not a transaction that can easily be enabled. And in fact, for the companies that enable that, they require the freelancer to set up an account, and they don't actually pay it out until there's roughly 1,000 USD sitting in that account, and then they would pay it out.
Okay, in DAIXRP.com, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is the bad guys' plan in 3 weeks for this election coming up. And we do have bad guys in this country. What is their plan, and what are these people? Who are they? I'm going to show you who they are. It's very clear who they are at this point. I mean, there's no questions of what's going on now. I'm going to show them to you and show you what somebody thinks their plans are. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.